Awesome. All right. Well, welcome, guys, to another accounts billing and CCS walkthrough. My name is Peter. I'm the onboarding manager at Owner. I'll be walking you through everything in the training today. The way we structure these trainings is we like to make it as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions along the way, just comment in the chat box. So whether you're on Facebook Live or whether you're on Zoom, just locate the comment box and leave us a comment and we'll answer it. There will also be dedicated question time at the end as well. Okay. We're going to split the training into two sections, the billing and the accounts first, and then the CCS second. Okay. Awesome. So let's get into it. As we said before, we'll be using the portal, not this one. We'll be using the portal, the administration portal, to get a lot of the setup stuff done. And we'll also be using the parent app to show what the parents see from their side. So the first thing you want to do when setting up your your accounts is you want to come here to CCS, activate update details. And it's the same for every center, regardless or not if you actually do use CCS, right? And just come here to the billing structure, okay? If you don't have access to this section, just reach out to owner, we can give access. And in your billing structure, what you want to specify is how you bill your families. So generally you're either billing in arrears, which is prior to the CCS coming in, or in advance, okay? If you're not using CCS, just go in advance with no estimating, all right? If you're looking for what option to choose and you're brand new, the CCS department always recommend billing in arrears. And that's just so that you can actually have the attendances happen, have all of the CCS come in, and then bill your families, okay? So there's no estimating or guesswork involved. The issue with estimating is if things change, you don't find out until after the fact, right? That's the recommendation from the CCS department, okay? However, regardless what option you guys are utilizing, just choose that from the drop down, okay? Generally billing in advance or billing in arrears, okay? The next section here was Recession of Care. Just leave this as Session of Care. Don't ever change it unless you get owner's permission, okay? Because it can stuff up the submission that you make, all right? Now, with owner, we do partner with a merchant. So with the merchant, you may already be aware, but we do have transaction costs. So a direct debit is 65 cents and a credit card fee is 1.6% plus 10 cents. Okay. Now, these fees can be either passed on to parents or absorbed by the center. Okay. And this is where you actually specify that. Now, the way it works is by default, it's set up so that the center absorbs the direct debit cost. If you don't want that, you can pass on the direct debit cost to the parent. Okay. By default, we have it so that the parent pays the credit card cost. If you as a center would like to absorb it, then you can tick that there. Okay. And that's just because the the direct debit fee 65 cents is a flat rate. So it's very easy to account for it. Whereas the credit card cost being a variable rate is not as easy to account for, hence why the default options, okay? But you can choose whatever setup you want. The other setup you can allow or disallow is, and by default it's off, okay, is allowing parents to choose their frequency and billing days. So do you want them to be able to choose Monday to Friday, weekly, fortnightly, monthly? Then you can turn this on. Just keep in mind, you'll see it in a second, that once you turn this on, they will have all the options, okay? It's not possible to just limit them to some options. If you only want to give some options, whether you just want them to choose their frequency but not their day, or just some days but not their frequency, or whatever the case is, probably best to leave that off. And as you get the direct debit details come in, because you do get notified by email once someone's completed a direct debit form, maybe you can just reach out and ask them what pattern you would like them to choose out of the available that you have available for them. Okay. The other thing you can also turn on or off is whether you would like parents to be able to pay on the app. Okay. So with the merchant facility, you do unlock a lot of different ways you can actually record payments. So without using the merchant, you can only just record the receipt. So you've collected the payment outside of owner, whether it's paid to your bank account or whatever, you receipt that on the statement, right? So you credit their account so that everything's balancing out. However, with the merchant, you unlock the ability to not only just direct debit your families on a consistent basis, you have the option for them to be able to pay on the app. You have the option to be able to take one-off payments through their actual statement themselves. And you also have the ability to take a payment from a completely different credit card altogether. Okay, and I will show those as we go along in the training. However, just for the app part of things and the parents, Do you want them to be able to pay on the app? Yes or no? Okay. Now I'm going to leave it on so they can pay through the app. I'm going to leave all these options on so you can see, like, I'm going to basically pass all the costs to the parents, allow them to choose their frequency and billing days. So in a second, you can see what that looks like. And then don't worry about this mark paid or edit invoice button. But what we can also do is actually automate. So we allow automation on 2 stages when it comes to accounts. You can automate invoices as one thing, and you can also automate debits as another. So that allows you to automate one and leave the other manual if you would like. Okay. So we do give you that full flexibility. Now, we always recommend brand new centers, brand new to owner, not 100% familiar with the system. We would like you guys to just start the first 1 or 2 payment runs and invoicing runs to be manual, just so you can understand the full extent of the system. And then as you're comfortable with it, just start turning on the auto and then letting us know if you have set up auto, just so that we can check that it's all done correctly. Okay. I will walk you through all those steps today though. Cool. And then you update your billing structure. Now, I'm not sure if I've changed anything, but I'll update it just for sake. And what's going to happen is, depending on those options, now when you invite your parents onto the app, something is wrong here. Give me a sec, guys. I think, let me see if I can see what I want to see. Okay, cool. Yep, I can still see it. Okay. Someone's been playing around with my my dummy center, but it doesn't matter. It seems to all still be here. Perfect. I should be okay for the purpose of this tutorial to continue. It's just there's no children linked to this child, this care anymore. Apologies for that. Now, as a parent, they can go on this left-hand menu, and under where they would normally see their children, which is what's missing on my end, they'll be able to see these statements and invoices. I'll show you how to make sure you've given them access, but as long as they've got this access, they have this top right-hand corner direct debit form that they can click. Okay. They also, moving forward, will be able to see their invoice and their statement here. And at the bottom here, they'll be able to make that one-off payment if you've so allowed it. Okay. Keep in mind, just with the one-off payment, that it is done through credit card only, the same way that you do any online purchase these days, right? And with a direct debit form, just to go back here, you'll have the options depending on what you've passed on. So as they choose the different payment methods, whether it's credit card or no, I haven't done it. Did I not pass on? Oh, whoops, I absorbed that by accident. Apologies, guys. I was accidentally absorbing the credit card fees. But as you guys will now see, if you picked it up before, I might have been too quick. Here, there was nothing in there before to show that there's no fee, right? As you guys pass on the fees, it will show. So 1.6% plus 10 cents for the credit cards and 65 cents for the direct debits. Now, there is also a direct debit rejection fee only for bank accounts, and it's $2.50, okay? That's automatically passed on to the parents. If you've allowed them to choose their billing and frequency, they can choose here, Tuesday, for example, fortnightly or monthly or weekly or whatever the case is, okay? But as we said before, they will have all the options available. Awesome. So that's basically the first step, setting that up, right? Now, once you've set that up, the next thing you want to do is actually create the family accounts. So I like to think of owner as 3 different levels: children and contacts, right? Whether it's carers, guardians, parents, emergency contacts, all grouped in the same sort of bracket. They're levels 1 and 2. You've got your children on level 1, and you've got your carers and guardians on level 2, okay? Now, with these 2 levels, they can be linked together, okay? And they will be able to, do everything from a parent communication side of things on the app, okay? Once you actually start using owner for CCS and accounts, that's where you unlock the 3rd level, which is what we call the family accounts. Now, once you guys actually decide to use this feature, you will need to create your accounts list. Now, if you're already using a specific software for your CCMS, we do have a lot of guides that you can utilize to extract that information from there and load it into owner, okay? We can also, you can also add new accounts straight from scratch, okay? And you'll do this for every account moving forward after your initial load, or if you're a brand new center and you don't have any existing software, you'll do this for all your families as they enroll, okay? And all you do is just come up here to the top, click this little plus button, and add the account name, the carer, the guardian, and the child, okay? And you'll be able to find the carer and the guardian and the children based on whoever's in your system, okay? You can either type out the name like this, or you can just find them from scrolling. Keep in mind, you can link multiple carers and guardians on one account, and it's recommended to do so if multiple contacts need access to the finances. Okay, so everyone you link here will have access to the finances. And if you want someone to be able to complete a direct debit form or so on and so forth, they do need to be linked to the account. Okay, same as the children, just link them all to the same account so that when the parent receives a statement, they just receive one statement for the whole family, right? And then just update add this family account here, and then the rest of it can be filtered through when the parents complete their direct debit form. Awesome. Now, look, I've got a few questions. Actually, give me 2 seconds. I'll answer the questions shortly. So, with the accounts, if you are extracting them from your current software, just find the report that gives you a whole list of all your accounts. And if you have your carers, guardians, and children, we can link them up as well. Okay. Some systems they don't allow export, with carers and guardians and children. They only allow the export with the contacts only. Sorry, the account names only. So in that case, if you do have an account name kind of like this with Bing and no one's linked to it, it's very simple. Just come into your account by clicking on the account name here and then just linking up that specific account. Okay, so that account Bing, these were the contacts associated with that and the children associated. Okay, and then that will start to link them up here, and you'll be able to see who is linked to which account. So this account Adams, for example, has 2 contacts that can access the accounts for financial purposes, and I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children. Okay, however, one's deactivated, right? And that's how you can keep on top of your accounts. And then when you actually allow parents to go on the app and complete the direct debit forms, you actually start to see here in this payment method column whether they've selected bank account or credit card and who still hasn't done it. Okay. A great thing about this family accounts section, there's a lot of great things about it, but one in this particular scenario is you can come up here to the filters and check parents that have no payment details. So if you want everyone to be on direct debits, that will give you a nice list on who still needs to, complete their details. And you can export that. So in owner, you'll always see a little export button. It'll be at the bottom here. Okay. Now, one thing to note is that in owner, when you change a filter, let's say, for example, no payment details, always just click the green button associated to it. So get report, run report, get attendances, whatever page you're on, it'll be different, but it all does the same thing. It allows you to apply multiple filters depending how you need, sort it a certain way, and then run the report so that it all, adjusts accordingly. Cool. Awesome. So just quickly, just to answer a few questions, let's see. For charging accounts in advance, current week +2, how is this done? I'll show you in a second how we charge the accounts, that's fine. If credit cards are passed on, how does this show in the account statement for parents? So if the credit card is passed on, you will see in a second, Scott, but the fee will also be displayed on the invoice, okay? And then if anything gets rejected at any stage, you'll see the direct debit rejection with a $2.50 applied, okay? Will those charges? Yes, they will. We have 2 services. Can the parents still abuse children? Can family accounts be linked? All right, perfect. So someone's asking a great question here. They have 2 services and they might have parents that have children at either service. So they're just asking on this app here, how can a parent see multiple accounts? Now, the most important thing is that you have to have the parent account in both your services, right? And they'll need to have a different username. But once they have a different username, they can still have the same email address. That's fine. It's just that the username must be unique to every single other member on the platform. And that's how the platform knows whether you're a parent, a staff, which center you associate with, and so on and so forth, right? And once you have given them those details, they can come on their app. So let's say, for example, this was their one center that they're linked to already. They come to the settings down here in the bottom. They click this little drop down arrow, and they'll be able to add another account, kind of like how I did earlier today. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I did it really quickly. You can add accounts here. And this is where staff who are also parents can add a staff account and a parent account. That's fine, not a problem as well. Cool. A lot of questions, guys. I love it. Keep it coming. Will those charges automatically show? Yeah, I've done that. Does their bond? Yes, the bonds do show on the statements, okay? So the way it works is, and I'll segue back to that in a second. Up here, a family will have their current bond balance at all times, okay? And this information here is derived by your bond balance that's on the right-hand side here in this column. Now, this bond balance we can bring in from your existing software, okay? And then you can also maintain it from the actual account itself. So anytime a bond has actually been paid, you can come to the family account here and go to the bond and receipt that that bond was paid, okay? If you're collecting that bond within owner, you need to actually add that charge to the statement first, collect the payment, and then receive the bond, right? And I will show that in a second when we talk about statements. Cool. All right, so we're getting really good questions. So will we need to take two separate payments if parents have children? Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so the one thing that you need to note is whether or not, like we just talked about, different parents and different services, they will have a statement for each service. Okay, that won't be linked up per se, and the reason is because the service itself is linked to a unique service ID for CCS purposes, so that CCS will only come to that one account, if that makes sense, right? So even if it's the same child that attends two of your different services, they'll have a statement for one service and a statement for the other, right? But the parent will be able to view all of that through the one app. Cool. Yeah, cool. I will show you, Karen, in a second when we get to the statements, how to enter manual payments. Awesome. I'm loving these questions, guys. It's really good direction. I know that we're going to be covering a lot of that, but it's great to see you guys eager to know. So when it comes to the accounts, we've got this all set up, right? What's going to happen is a certain stage you're going to want to go live, and at that date, it's always a Monday date, right, is when you actually stop using your old system for CCS and signing children in and out and the rest of it, and you start using owner moving forward. Okay, at that point in time, we can also bring across your balances and your bond balances so that it's all reflective of where you ended up at the one system and where you start in owner. So basically you end at the same spot. You end in one system in one spot, and then you start again in the same exact spot on the new system. We bring that balance across, and then you generate your first invoice in owner, which has that opening balance. And again, balances can be credits or debits. It doesn't matter, right? It just basically puts everyone in the same exact position. So it's basically like nothing changed, just the system, right? Awesome. So when we talk about owner, we talk about, we're going to talk about it soon, but we usually refer to two different things. One is the statement, or what we like to call the family transactions, which is located here. Everything we talk about accounts is under families, right, on the left-hand menu. And the statements is under the transactions, and the invoices is under invoices and payments, okay? When it comes up with, when we talk about this information, the way it works, and looking at a calendar will make a lot of sense. The transaction statement is ongoing and shows the parent everything that's happened up in the past, right? So when it comes to invoicing, you only ever need to generate your latest invoice, right, for the new period. And it doesn't matter if it's weekly, monthly, termly, doesn't matter, right? But wherever you have an invoice and you want to take it, for the next week or the next fortnight or whatever it is, you just generate the invoice for that period of time, and then you don't need to overlap with anything that's happened in the past, okay? Because there's a running statement in the background already, okay? It's a little bit different to other systems, and we do understand that. Give me a sec, guys. I'm just going to quickly check Facebook for any comments. No comments there either. I think there's another comment here. When we go live, do we get a support person? Yeah, definitely, Maren. Just reach out to the onboarding team. We help out all the centers that are, onboarding. It doesn't matter if you're just, you might be an existing owner customer, but you're just onboarding the CCS and account side of thing. Just reach out to us, onboarding@owner.com.au, and we can help you out. We understand that, the first invoice, even though you see it in these trainings and you're attending it, when you first go to do your first invoices or your first debits or whatever, it could be a daunting process. So just reach out. I'm going to put this in the chat. Onboarding@owner.com.au. No one seems to be on the Facebook today, so I'm just going to put in the Zoom. It's just onboarding@owner.com.au. And then, we can help you out with whatever you need. Awesome. So looking at this calendar here to give you guys a bit of an example. Let's say hypothetically I'm billing in arrears, right? So that means I'm always billing for the week that just passed. Now we're currently on Tuesday, May 17th. So let's say I generate my invoices on May 17th. I will always be invoicing for the prior week this is a tongue twister, in an arrears setup. Wow, say that fast 3 times. In an arrears setup. There we go. So on the 17th, I'll be invoicing for the 9th to the 15th. And it's paramount that you understand that we always invoice from Monday through to Sunday. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's in advance or in arrears or 1 or 2 or 5, 25 weeks, it doesn't matter. Always Monday to Sunday, right? And that's just so we can pick up all the attendances that happen throughout the week. Now, when it comes to in arrears, I wouldn't have billed my families for the 9th. So all my families up until now will be billed up until the 8th. and then my new invoice will go from the 9th to the 15th, okay? Now, what's gonna happen is when I generate this new invoice, any balance which is still sitting on the account, whether it's a credit or a debit or whatever, will actually get carried over, okay? So that's the great thing about just needing one invoice, is that the amount from previously will get carried over onto their latest invoice, and then their new charges and CCS and all that sort of stuff will be applied, and then they'll have a balance which is owing, and it basically will tell you if they pay that amount, they'll be caught up until whatever end date you've selected. In my example here, they'll be paid up until the 15th, okay? And you'll see it in a second. If in different scenarios, right, I'm billing week of, I'll do 16th to 22nd, okay? And just let's go back a step, sorry. And when I'm billing in arrears, 9th to 15th, the following one, let's say I hypothetically do every Tuesday I invoice, right? On the 24th, it'll be 16th to 22nd. On the 31, it'll be 23rd to 29th. So we never overlap, okay? I do hear about centers that do, this week plus one or this week plus two, right? If you've already invoiced for this week, you don't need to add it in your dates, okay? Because you'll be overlapping, all right? And the reason is because all this old invoicing weeks that you've already invoiced for appear on the statement as an ongoing thing, okay? I'll show you in a sec, the parents and the center side. So hopefully that makes sense. We'll get into it a little bit more when we actually generate some invoices live on this training. Is there a way to print a balance report for the invoicing period to check the amounts processed are correct? I'm kind of understanding your question. So are you saying before you invoice, you want to see how much it is? You can change the date here just to the end date that you're up to. Yeah, so watch, right? So I'm only up to May 9th, right? I want to get an indication of where every family would be at the May 15th. I just balance them to May 15th, and this will show me all their updated balances to that new point in time, okay? Very important to note, when you choose your date up here in this updating account balances, I always recommend a Sunday date, right? And whatever Sunday you choose, make sure it's the one that you're invoiced up until, okay? Unless you want to get like this, a sort of snapshot on what's going to happen in the future, just go there. And then once you're done with this snapshot, go back, okay? Because whatever you're balanced to here, parents will see on their side. So right now I'm balanced to the 15th. I haven't actually sent out any invoices or anything like that, but just to sort of give you guys an example quickly, when the parent actually sees their statement, because it's all live, right, and it all happens simultaneously, they can see all that information there up until the May 15th. So just be wary of that, okay? If you want to get a snapshot here, you can, that's fine, but always move it back to where you're actually invoiced until you generate your new lot of invoices, okay? So hopefully that answers your question there. Cool. So as we said before, every family has a statement. So on the left-hand side here, under family transactions, you can actually open this up, and I'm going to open this up actually in a cool way. So owners all on the web, remember this because it's a very important fact. Every link on the left-hand side or links within owner itself, you can actually right-click, the link and open it up in a new tab or window to help with multiple screens. So sometimes you want to see the family's accounts, the statements, I don't know, weekly attendances, whatever the case is, you can open them all up in different windows or tabs, okay? Cool. Now, I'm just going to quickly show you what a statement looks like. Cool. Yeah, Richard, I can show you something in a second. So we're getting a lot of advanced questions, which I like. So with the statements in owner, you select the family from here, run the statement, and then it'll bring you up the statement view. Now, if you've never seen this before, it's got charges, CCS credits in their own column, and other credits here. And the way it works is essentially every child will have their own line, and it will show, for example, attendances and the fee for that week, right? It'll show you what days they attended and then what the balance is after that's been, applied. So charges will increase the balance, credits will decrease the balance. And if we look at this example family here, they have a few children. I think they've got 2, right? And every week they have charges. Now we don't have CCS in the demo center, but if you did, you'd see the CCS here. Estimates will be highlighted in yellow. Confirmed amounts will be, printed in green, right? And basically all these charges have accrued. Now the parent makes a payment, but it's just a small little payment, which reduces their balance, but not enough. So they still owe money all the way through, and they haven't actually made a payment since then. Okay, so what's going to happen now is, as we said before, the family is only invoiced up until the 8th. Okay, and they owe this $10,725. The family, once we generate the new invoice, will have this balance carried over. Okay, and if this was a credit, that would be carried over as well. Okay, now I wanted to do something. Oh yeah, just to show you. And as we can see here on the parent side of things, they have the same exact view. The only thing the parents don't have, which is different, is just the running total. Okay, we did have it on the app, but parents were getting confused by it, so we removed it. And essentially, what's going to happen is they're going to see. Oh, sorry, give me a sec. I've moved it back to the 8th or whatever we're up to now. So the number was different. Yeah, perfect. So here you can see what the total will be. So it's 10,725. So what you see on your end, they see on theirs as well. Okay. Now, when you're on this, oh, actually, let's go back to the parent. As we were saying before, this is a running statement. So parents can actually see everything in the past, whether it's like 14, 30 days, 24 months, all transactions. So they have access to see all their previous history, hence why we don't ever need to overlap. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it to 30 days just to be safe. Awesome. Now, with the actual statement itself, this is where you can add your own manual debits and credits. So someone was asking me before, how do we receive payments that come outside of owner? And you do it by clicking this blue button here, add transaction. Okay, this will allow you to add a manual transaction of a debit or a credit. If you select credit, you'll just have this one extra option of method of payment, right? If you do debit, you'll have everything else but that. And you basically will put in an amount, backdate it, or future dated if you want. If you leave it blank, it will just default to today, and then select if it's a credit, how it was paid. So the question that was asked was, how do I receive bank account transfers or FPOS payments or whatever? This is how you do it, okay? And then you write the description here, and just be very clear with your descriptions and consistent. We always say consistency helps with reporting. The transparency helps with parents understanding. Okay, if it's a payment, write payment. Bond paid, right? If it's a fee, write fee, bond charge. That kind of thing. Someone was also asking about bonds. If you're charging bonds in owner, this is how you would add it. So you would add the charge here of whatever amount it is for the bond. Okay, that would go onto their statement, and then you can do either a take payment, which I'll show you in a second, how to take an ad hoc payment from an account, or you could just let it roll on. Let it go on with their first week of invoicing. It will carry over as a balance. They'll pay it all out, and then you'll be able to put the receipt on the account. Cool. The next thing you can also do from the statement, as we were just talking about, is take payment. So sometimes there might be scenarios where you don't want to take the payment that's on the invoiced amount, right? You want to take your own amount. So you can come here to the take payment and actually enter the number you want to take, right? Keep in mind, they have to have their bank details on file for this to be actually, connect, right? And as long as you have an active merchant, you can also take a payment from a completely different credit card. So let's say, for example, mum's details are on file, but dad wants to make a payment. You can do that this way as well. Okay, so again, the merchant does offer a lot of different ways you can collect payment. Because at the end of the day, owner just wants to make sure that you guys are paid, right? Making sure that your accounts are all up to date and that your sense is running smoothly. Well, that's our goal. Awesome. Someone's asked here a question about staff discounts. Now, we can't get into it specifically because that's a whole chapter on its own. But if you've set them up correctly, Marin, then yes, staff discounts will generate the staff discount credits will appear on the statements as well. Okay. And then you can go to the statement and either take a payment and so on and so forth. Right. If you need help with creating your staff discounts and understanding the new ways that the staff discounts work, just contact the support team and we can help you with your specific situations. Awesome. So now you guys have seen what the accounts look like or what the statements look like. The next thing is the invoicing. So the invoicing is basically when you generate an invoice which shows the parent how much is owing or is due, for their new period of time. Again, as we said before, this could be a week, a fortnight, a term, it doesn't matter, right? You go to families, invoices, and payments, and all you do up here in the generate section is choose your dates. Now, it's very important that you've already checked your attendances and everything prior to this, making sure that all the families on the correct number of days, the correct fees, correct sessions, all that sort of stuff, because it's going to play a part here. But once you've done all that, you select what weeks you want to invoice for, whether it's 1 week or 2 weeks, in arrears, in advance, week of, etc. And then you invoice, you select the families. So let's say hypothetically, again, I'm doing the in arrears example. So on the 17th, I bill in arrears, 9th, sorry, to 15th. Okay, again, always choose a Monday to Sunday, so it picks up all the attendances for that week. And then I'll just select my family. So let me just quickly check. Yeah, perfect. So the last invoice I've generated for my family is up until the 8th of May here. So we're right on schedule to do the next one now, right? Mass, right? And remember, we had a balance of 10,700 and something or other dollars sitting there. That's going to be carried over, and you'll see it in a second. After you've selected your dates here, you'd select your families. Most of the time, you'll do all families, right? And then, or you can select individual families as well, okay? And then you generate your invoices here. Now, if you guys are in a situation where you debit some families weekly, some families fortnightly, and you've got also different debit dates, some pay weekly on the Monday, some pay fortnight 2 on a Tuesday or whatever, right? We can actually create a system with you guys, and we'll do that one-on-one. So reach out to the onboarding team, where we create tags. And the way tags work is it just groups a bunch of families. So instead of you having to try and select everyone that's fortnight 2 family one by one like this, right? You can actually pre-group them into a tag category called fortnight 2, for example, and then just invoice for fortnight 2, okay? Because fortnight 2 would have a different date range. They'll have 2 weeks, whereas weekly we only have 1 week, okay? If you're in that situation, we do have a video on it as well we can help you with, and just get in contact, we can help you out with that, okay? But basically, for my example, I'm just going to generate for one family, and I'll give you guys a few examples here on what you do with dates. So if you guys are billing in advance, a week of, let's say, so it's the week of, it's the 17th, I bill week of, I just changed it from 16th to 22nd, okay? Week of families would have, census, would have already billed up into the 15th, so the new week is the 16th, right? The following one would be the 23rd, and so on and so forth. Week of plus 1 week, right? So it'll be like, let's say you do it, but you invoice every fortnight, and it's always the week of, and the following one, it'd be 16th to 29th, okay? If you're one in advance, you just do 23rd to 29th. If you do, bill in advance but for fortnight, 23rd to 5th, and so on and so forth. You can understand how it works from that. And if you need further clarification for your setup, just let us know. Now, I need to do in arrears 9 to 15. All right, perfect. I select my one family, and then I generate invoice. Now, what's going to happen is you see this pop up. It just basically says what we said before. Have you checked all your attendances and made sure they're all good, right? As long as you are okay with that, once you generate your invoices, you're going to get a confirmation here that says invoices generated successfully. Please run the report below to view them. It's very important to note that sometimes you might get an error message. So that just basically means that there might be some children that aren't linked to an account properly. So if that's the case, please go and link those children first before actually generating your invoices, okay? Once your invoices have been generated, you can just come down here to the invoice history section and click get invoices, okay? This will actually show your invoice that you've generated, and every new family will have their own individual line, okay? Cool. I do have some questions, so let's pause here and see what's happening. What if you charge in advance and you create the invoice, but then a child attends a casual day for the week, but that week has already been charged? That's a fantastic question. And it's very simple. That charge will be applied to the statement, and it would just be recorded in next week's invoice, okay? So that carryover will apply. And then, like, let's say, for example, I've already billed them for 3 days. They pay the 3 days, but they actually attend 4, okay? On their statement, those 4 days worth of attendances and the CCS, because you submit the 4 days, right, will all come in. There'll be a little bit of a balance that's carried over, and that will be, invoiced on the next invoice, okay? If in a different situation, you've, generated invoices, this has happened, right, but you haven't actually collected the debits yet, okay? You can also what we call calculate or refresh an invoice, okay? So just to show you really quickly, I billed them for 3 days, but they actually attend 4 and their payment has not come out yet. I can actually regenerate that invoice. Click this little button here. What happens with generating or regenerating invoices is they always, disappear or whatever, and you just click this get invoice button here. and it shows them up again. All right, basically just recalculates in the background. Now my numbers didn't change because nothing changed from my end, but just to show you guys the example. Cool. Awesome. All right, I've got a few more questions. So let's see what we've got. Can the statement only be accessed through the app? Well, okay, we've got, where are we up to? All right, someone was asking really quickly, Richard, any way you can see every family's CCS gap fee charge amount, okay? Now, it's not 100% accurate because it doesn't take into consideration the fact that, what do you call that? Like people going over their hours, but you can come here to CCS, weekly attendance fee, okay? And it'll give you a snapshot. Again, not accurate, especially if billing if you're billing in advance, it's not accurate, but if you're billing in arrears, it's accurate, right? And it will be able to show you every single child, their total fees, their CCS estimate, and then their gap fee, okay? Keep in mind that this CCS estimate here is not calculating if they go over their caps, their hours, the daily cap rates and all that, okay? So it's just an estimate only, just to give you sort of a vague idea, okay? And also shows you hours. Now, mine's probably not that great, but here on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see total hours, okay, versus what hours they have from a CCS perspective, okay? Can the statement only be accessed through the app? We have families that want to use the app. All right, so the question is, how can parents see the statements outside of the app? That's a great question. Now, with Owner, our statements and invoices are only done through the Owner platform, okay? We don't email these out, and the reason is because you can't trace emails. So with Owner's invoicing, you can actually check who's viewing them and whatnot. We can actually track that information. However, with emails, we can't, okay? If you need to send out emails specifically for families, you can save any invoice or any payment, any invoice by clicking this little printer button, right? Or any statement. At the top of the statement, there's a little printer button as well. You can save them as PDF and email them out, okay? However, what parents can actually do to access their statements and invoices outside of an app, and when we talk about an app, we're talking about a mobile device or an iPad, they can just come to a browser here and just go to the Owner website, okay? Parents also have a portal, just like you guys do. It's the same exact as yours. So they just type in owner.com.au/parents, or just give them your link. It doesn't matter. It all goes to the admin portal anyway. They can put in their username and password here. If I do it quickly, no, I can't because I'm logged in. Let me just one sec. Anyway, they can log in basically in the section with statements and invoices. I won't show you now because we are running a bit behind time anyway. Cool. How can I bill 2 weeks in advance? Yep, we've already covered that. What happens if a service bills in advance and then a child attends? Yeah, we answered that as well. Hi, you're on Facebook and Zoom. Nice. Do staff discounts get generated? Yes, they do, as long as you set them up correctly. If a family is on a payment plan or needs to reduce the amount that is being processed as a payment that fortnight, does that need to be done manually or can that be set up minimum? So with payment plans, they're done manually, I guess. You go on the actual account for that family, and the short way to do it is from this screen here. Just click on the actual account name, and then you've got this section here where you've got limits and miscellaneous, okay? However, it's a fixed amount, okay? If something changes, you'll need to change the fixed amount as well, okay? I think that's what you're basically asking, all right, with limits. There's also another option in Owner, which is a lot like much newer, and you've actually got this thing where it's regular debit amount, but I always urge centers to be very careful. I was just helping someone out earlier today. When setting up limits or regular debit amounts, right, just be careful of the numbers, because if they're not paying enough, they might have this big debt that starts to accrue, right? Because if they don't cover their weekly gap or their fortnightly gap or whatever it is, then that extra amount that they haven't covered will get carried over to the next invoice and so on and so forth. And it's important to note that the invoices will always show the full amount because we want parents to know exactly how much they owe us, okay? And it also keeps the center in check with making sure that there's not big debts that are getting accrued. But yes, you can set up the limits, not a problem. Oh, and I forgot to show you, you can pause accounts completely as well. Okay, so down here you can pause. Awesome. If we're 2 weeks in advance, then after the first invoice, if we are 2 weeks in advance, then after the first invoice of current week plus 2, am I just invoicing 1 week at a time? Yeah, you always just want to be able to, you always just want to invoice that 1 week at a time, which is, 2 weeks away from your date. So to show you with a calendar here, so you're invoicing, what is it? 2 weeks in advance, right? So you would have already invoiced the not what week are we now? This one. You would have already invoiced the 16th and the 23rd in prior weeks. It might have been in the prior system. It might have been whatever, right? So you only need to generate your invoice from the 30th to the 5th. The following week, you'll generate from the 6th to the 12th, 13th to the 19th, and so on and so forth, right? So you're always generating that 1 week period. That's 2 weeks away, and everything else is, on the statement for parents to see previously, right? And if you're transitioning softwares, that is all reflected in the opening balances. Cool. So once you guys have generated all your invoices, and because of time, I might not be able to show you exactly what the invoice looks like, but you click this little printer button here, and you can see all the breakdown. You can actually debit your families as well. So every family, let's just make this a little bit smaller. Because of Zoom, I'm limited on space here. Okay. Every family will have their own line for their invoice, okay? And they will have their own debit button, okay? This is assuming you're connected to the merchant. So you can debit families individually, but most likely what you're going to do is debit the families all in one go on a particular day, right? The center debit's on Thursday, for example. So what you do is on Thursday, you come here and you click this debit latest reference button, and it would debit all of your families, okay? And one thing to note is when you're looking at your invoice history, you might see a lot of older invoices, right? Like as you can see here, there's April 25th and so on and so forth. Don't worry about those because as we said before, all the numbers get carried over, right? And the latest invoice that you've generated is the most up-to-date one. So this debit button is only going to focus on the families with the latest invoice, latest reference, sorry. If you have the situation where different families are weekly or fortnightly or whatever, just make sure to, you'll use tags, right? And then just make sure that you filter by tag first. So because a fortnightly family will have a different reference to a weekly family, you might just want to debit your fortnightly families, right? So you just use the tags option here in the debits to do it, okay? We didn't cover that too much, but if you need help with it, just let us know. Yeah, awesome. All right. So someone's asking about the carryover. Yes, you can. Just click on this little carryover button here, and you can actually get a whole breakdown of what is causing that number to appear. Yeah, awesome. And the one thing to note with the invoices is that carryover amount may come from like 7 different things. Okay, so it just calculates all the numbers together and just gives you the final number as based on the statement. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right. Awesome. And because as you know, especially the families, so the centers that bill in advance, they have the biggest issue with the carryover because it will be based on what's currently available. And you know how CCS changes a lot. The CCS that comes in might be different to what was estimated, originally. But the system will always pick itself up and work out the differences. So if you've over or undercharged or whatever the case is, it will reflect that accordingly. Okay. And that's why the carryover always goes through onto different invoices. Awesome. Okay. Any questions on accounts before we move to CCS? I know we're running behind time. Yes, I'll show you changes to CCS in a second. Actually, you know what? Ask your questions in the chat, but I want to move on just because of time. A little bit was because of all the questions, which is fantastic. I love it. And a little bit was my fault with the tech in the morning. So apologies. But I hope that gives you enough of a snapshot to sort of understand how the system works. Just note that you generate your invoices for the following one. Oh, sorry, guys. I forgot to show you how to automate it. But I'll just quickly do that for the sake of the recording. Okay. Go to, once you're ready to automate. So the same way you can generate your invoices on particular days and debit families on particular days, you can actually automate all of that, okay? Going to the family account section here, once you've turned on all the automation under the activate update details, you'll then be able to apply billing schedules, which is invoicing schedules. It's very important to note the word billing in owner means invoicing, okay? The word debit means collecting payment, okay? So a billing schedule is when the invoice will go out, for what period and for how many weeks. And then in the notes and reminders, you can actually see their debit day, okay? The way it happens in owner as well is the debit will only be on a day. So for example, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you generate the invoice on the week that you want the payment to come out. So if it's fortnightly, you generate the invoice. So it only comes out every 2 weeks and on the week that the parent wants that fortnight, their payment to come out, because different parents get paid in different fortnights and so on and so forth. When you click on a family's account here, you can create the schedule, for each family and the debit date for each family. And it is mandatory once you've turned on all the auto, okay? However, you can set this all up in a bulk fashion, and I'll show you now, okay? I'll only give you 1 or 2 examples, but it should give you enough of an understanding. Come to the family accounts, scroll down to the bottom. You've got this bulk set billing dates section here, which is the invoicing. You select which families it applies for. If it's everybody, select the first family, scroll down to the bottom here, hold shift and click the last one. Okay, that will just select everybody. If it's some families, hold down your control or command key and then select the families it applies for, and then you'll see only those ones are selected. Okay, if you're using tags, you can also create this stuff based on your existing tags. All right. And now, depending on which families you've selected, you then create, you then create your invoicing schedules. If it's in arrears, like on the 17th, right? So it's the 17th now, so I can't create it for this week. It's already done, but I can create it for next week. So what I'm going to say is on the 24th, I want the system to generate my invoices for the week of the 16th. Okay. This date here, when you're selecting when you want invoices to go out, you can choose any day of the week. Okay. When you're selecting the period starting, it's always a Monday. Okay. And you don't have to choose the end date. You do that by number of weeks. So if it's 1, it just does up to the first Sunday. If it's 2, it does for, the second Sunday as well. Right. And so on and so forth. If you bill in a week of, so on the week of the 17th has passed, so I can't do it. So I'm setting this up for next week. So on the 24th, I want to invoice all my families from the 23rd to the 29th. So here I put 24th and here I put 23rd. Okay. If I'm in advance 1 week, on the 24th, invoice for the 30th. If I'm 2 weeks in advance, 6th of June or whatever it is, and so on and so forth. If it's fortnightly, so let's say, for example, on the 24th, generate an invoice, which is 1 week in advance, the 30th, but for 2 weeks, okay? Then it'll go 2 weeks. And then depending on how many weeks you've selected, this auto schedule will just keep updating itself, okay? So on the 24th for 2 weeks, so it won't invoice on the 31st. The next schedule will be on the 7th, okay? And then depending on which week you've selected, whether it was 1 week away or 2 weeks away or 1 week behind or the week of, it will just repeat that pattern. So does that make sense there? And then you bulk update this and it updates every single person rather than one by one. And then the debit date here, you just select the day. So whatever day you take debits, so whether it's a Friday or Thursday or a Tuesday, just select that day and bulk update the debit day. Okay. Again, to recap, first 1 or 2 do them manually. And then when you set up your automation, always get in touch with owner after you've done an automation schedule, just to make sure it's been done correctly. Okay. Cool. All right. If I'm rushing, please let me know. I'm trying to get through as much content as possible, and I'm just mindful of your time. That's all. But if I'm rushing too much that it's not making sense, then that's bad. So please do tell me. Okay. Awesome. Keep your questions coming, but we're going to switch over to CCS now. So similarly to how we set up our accounts. Okay. And let me just, are they here? Yeah. Let me just scroll down. So we're moving on to CCS, guys. And yeah, let's get into it. Similarly to how we set up all the accounts, you come to CCS, activate update details. Now, what's going to happen from a setup point when it comes to CCS is you're going to use Proda. So you need to make sure that you're the person in Proda that has the correct authority. If you're not the right one, make sure it's the correct person doing it. And they create this thing called a B2b device. Now, if you don't know much about it, that's fine. We have guides to help you with every step of the way. And what this does is it links owner as a software to the CCS department directly. And from that point forward onwards, we can actually start to pull through reports and submit sessions moving forward, okay? If you don't want to submit sessions straight away, that's fine. You just choose a date in the future and it all starts from that date that you select, right? Keep in mind, by default, all the sessions and stuff are on manual, so there's no harm in setting this up advanced, right? And we recommend do everything in advance so it's all ready by the time you want to go live. The one question we always get is about B2b devices, is because you already have one currently with your system that you're using, right? Make sure you actually create a new B2b device and you can run them parallel to each other, okay? And once you're connected to owners, like owner has a B2b device which is active, you can actually pull through all your old reports, even though they've been submitted in a different software, straight through owner directly, okay? And the last thing you want to do from a setup point of view is scroll down to the bottom here. If you're doing IS claims, just put in your details. You can find them from your old software, or you can also email the IS department, and we have links on all the different sections that you need, right? And that allows you to just basically do your IS claims through owner. Cool. So now you've got your system in a stage where you're already set up from a CCS perspective. Quick question on this. Yes, good question. Yes, of course, you need to wait for CCS approval, Maren, because one of the questions they're going to ask you is your service ID, okay? And you won't get that until your CCS approved, okay? So good question. I'll show you what the next step is for you guys. Does it need to be a different computer or name of computer? No. Oh, if you're talking about this device name, it's just a B2b device that lives in Proda, and you just create one. You don't do it per computer, you just do it per service, okay? One B2b device per service. And another cool thing, if you have multiple services and they're all linked under one provider, you can create one B2b device and owner can actually link them all for all your services, right? Depending on your setup. Cool. Yeah, Maren, we will post a link, but the best way to find all of our accounts trainings is just jump on our owner community. Go to Facebook, type in owner community, and you'll see all of our lives there. Okay, but we are working on fixing the YouTube one as well. Cool. All right, so now we've got our CCS connected, right? And again, this happens after CCS approval for new services. What the next step is, it will depend if you're an existing service or if you're a brand new service. If you're an existing service, the great thing is if your enrollments are confirmed already, so parents have already gone onto MyGov and confirmed, they don't need to do that again, okay? We can actually pull through all of those confirmed enrollment IDs and put them onto your owner child's profiles, okay? The job will do about 80% automatically, and then 20% might have to be done manually, okay? But we can get it all done. Everything in terms of enrollments will now live under CCS enrollment details, and you'll be able to see all your enrollments here, okay? By default, you'll see your confirmed enrollments only, and then you can also change this filter to see all enrollments, the pending ones, and so on and so forth, right? As a brand new service, what you guys want to do is you want to actually create these enrollments from scratch. Okay, so the reason they will be here for existing services is because they've already done this previously in the old enrollments ID, in the old software provider, right? If you're brand new or even existing services that have new enrollments, okay, you just create a new CCS enrollment through the child's profile. So just come here to children, view all children, right? Find the child that you're looking for, and just keep in mind that if it's a future child, they're not having an attendance until later, you won't find them on this default report because that's just showing attending children. Just change the filter here so that you can make sure you're looking at starting soon. Or this really cool underrated feature that we have is we've got this little search bar here. You can search any child, parent, or account name here, and it'll pick it up regardless where it lives in the system, okay? But just make sure you find the account that you want. Let's say, for example, I scroll down and it's this one here, Robert Blue. Click on the child's name, and that will bring you into the child's profile, okay? It's very important to note when creating CCS enrollments that are going to claim CCS, right, as CWAs, you need to make sure that you have CRN numbers for children and parents and date of births for both of those as well. Sorry, when I say parent, I mean primary carer, sorry. And you need to make sure that that information matches with what's in the CCS department, okay? Sometimes it doesn't match 100%, it will have errors, okay? But as long as that's all good, depending on what room and current day schedule you guys have, you can actually create an enrollment here. Come down to this CCS tab on the child's profile. At the bottom here where it says submit update enrollment to CCS. Now, this is a fake CRN number, so it won't work, but generally you'll have something like that, 9 characters in a letter, right? You come down here to the bottom and you'll create your enrollment. It's important to note, if the enrollment starts in the future, CCS don't let us choose a future date, so just choose today, that's fine. If the enrollment starts in the past, make sure you choose a date which is inclusive of every day they've attended so that you don't miss out on any CCS, right? That can come the parent's way. So if you start an enrollment on the 9th, but the parent actually started on the 25th of April, you won't be able to submit this week, and then therefore you won't be able to collect CCS for it, okay? You can always go back and change it, but just get it right from the get-go, backdated to the first day. And my advice is always just choose the Monday. So whatever week they start, doesn't matter if they started on Thursday, just choose the Monday so they're always covered. And when you end enrollments, just choose the Sunday. So that way they're always, covered for everything. Awesome. No, Ivanhoe, you don't. Parents do not need to reconfirm their enrollments when you switch providers if they're already confirmed. Cool. So you create this new enrollment here. Again, you get a confirmation message at the top. You want to see the green, it's been submitted successfully. And what you can actually do is click this CCS Enrollment Status button here. And this will show you the enrollment status based on the CCS database for that particular child. And the status here will tell you if it's pending. So sometimes you'll go pending confirmation. It's like a light blue color. That's the one you want to see because it means that everything's done correctly from the center side, everything's done correctly from the parent side, and the parent can just now go on MyGov and confirm, right? Sometimes you'll get this pending eligibility, which is a gray one, which means that center's done everything correctly, but parents not eligible, so they need to contact CCS and find out what's missing. And it could be immunizations, it could be tests, activity tests they haven't completed, so on and so forth, okay? Now, one thing to note is once you guys have created these enrollment IDs, even if the parents are pending, you can still submit the sessions, okay? So whether you're a new service that needs to go back because you haven't got CCS approval, you've been operating for 4 or 5 weeks or whatever, you haven't got CCS approval until now, you can go back and actually, what do you call that? Resubmit all the sessions, right? I'll show you the sessions in a sec, right? And then if you're an existing service, even though the parent hasn't confirmed, you can still submit your sessions. However, until parents confirm those enrollments, right, and they have actual entitlements, percentages, and hours, they won't get CCS their way. So just keep that in mind, okay? A few questions. Do parents need to, yeah, we've done that already. Okay. Do we have to put in the original start date with the service to CCS or just when we go live? So the question is, you have to put the original start date for like from the attendance point of view, right? So let's say, for example, you're looking at a calendar, you guys operated here on the 4th of April, but there were delays in your CCS approval and you don't get it until 2nd of May, right? If the child started in this week, 4th of April, you have to backdate it to the 4th of April so that they can get paid for every single week they've attended, okay? Very important. We allow for makeup days for public holidays. How do we go about changing this to show a makeup day, which is 0 fee? So you just change that on the actual attendances. So you come down to the attendances that already exist under either daily attendances or weekly attendances and just change the fee to 0, okay? Cool. If you enter enrollments manually, there is a CWA section. Is that the same as creating the CWA so you don't need to do that step? No, Zinnia, it's different. This here right now is creating the CCS enrollment to CCS. The CWA, so the CCS enrollment is an agreement between the service and CCS, right? You create a CCS enrollment to say, I've got this child, this is their details, this is what you need to, this is the days that they'll be attending, right? The actual CWA is an agreement between the center and the parent. So you need the parent to sign the CWA on the app, right? To actually say that, yes, my child is attending this service and yes, I'm happy with these charges, right? So it's two different, what do you call it? Like stakeholders, I guess. One is from the parents, okay? And anyone, I can't show you this because I don't have children. For some reason, I don't have children here. I'm not going to go fiddle around with my account, but as a parent, right, I'm going to try to walk you through this, even though I don't have it here. Apologies. A parent will be able to, and we've got a guide on this already, right? A parent will be able to click the left-hand side here, go to their child's name, which would be at the top here, which mine's missing. Click on the child's name, and then you'll see 3 dots on the right-hand side. Click on that, and that will open up the child's profile and a little drop-down menu, and they choose Sign CWA, okay? They sign their CWA, and then all confirmed CWAs appear under the CCS menu and then CWA here, okay? And any child which still has not completed a CWA, owner will notify you of. Cool. Right. Good question. So we're at this stage where we've got all the enrollments coming through, parents are confirming, right? Now, what we want to do is if you ever want to see entitlements, now someone asked this question earlier, you can come to CCS Entitlements here, and at any given day, you can run an entitlement report on all your children, on a 1 or 2 particular children, but we've got this fantastic thing here, which is showing you the changes, okay? Anytime CCS changes, owner will notify the center, okay? And you'll be able to see this table here. I'll try and get a better screenshot to show you. What that screenshot will look like is something like this: the child's name and what their previous percentage in hours were and what their new percentage in hours were, right? And whether that went up or down, just to keep you guys on top of things. Because if their CCS is dropping, obviously their gap is increasing and their payment is increasing, right? And vice versa if their CCS is increasing. So it keeps you ahead of things. So when you look at their new invoice, you can go, oh, yes, that's expected because their CCS changed, right? So it's a great little tool here. Okay. And as you guys, have these enrollments coming through, entitlements and whatnot, the most important thing you want to be doing is submitting your sessions. Okay. So come down to CCS session reports, and this is where you can submit all of your sessions. Similarly to accounts, you can do this automatically or manually, right? However, unlike accounts, we're happy for you guys to set this up automatically straight from the first week. Okay. Make sure this is off until you guys actually go live in Owner, and only turn it on once you're actually going to submit your sessions for that week. So generally you choose a date. Let's say, for example, it's the 17th of May now, and I decide to go live on the 30th of May. From that week onwards, you stop submitting, you stop signing in and out in your old system, you start doing it in Owner, you stop billing families, submitting sessions or anything in your old system, and you start doing it in Owner, okay? You can choose your live date and move it forwards and backwards as needed, that's fine. And then once you go live, you just keep doing everything through Owner, and that's where you submit from, right? You turn on the auto, and Owner will submit for you Friday from 10 p.m. onwards, okay? So you don't have to worry about it. All you have to worry about is that all your attendances are correct, and then we'll submit the data that you have available. Cool. Awesome. Now, when it comes to the actual submissions, it's really easy, even if you do it manually. Come to the session reports, come here to submit sessions, and this is where you go to the particular week you want to submit for. So if you're backdating, make sure you go back to a prior week and always select Monday because we submit for the whole week, right? And then generally, and by default, it will be selected to this week that we're currently in, 16th, for example, and then select your children. It's very important to note only children with enrollment IDs will be submitted. Okay. So when you look at this all number, that's just how many will have enrollment IDs for this particular week. You go to all and you click submit. Okay. And that will submit all those children to the CCS department. Again, they may have an enrollment ID, but not a confirmed enrollment. That's fine. However, they won't get CCS until that enrollment is confirmed. Okay, so it's very simple to submit, and you can always update prior submissions. Okay, and you can also view them as well. So, and even view them can be before Owner, right? So you can see everything. Can we access previous changes of CCS, not just the recent one? Karen, previous changes of CCS. So you're talking about the entitlements, right? So you can access previous session subsidies, right? Which shows you the whole CCS amount as a whole, what was paid, 300 this week, 200 last week, 150 the week before, right? You can see all of that even previous to Owner. However, with the entitlement changes, the one that we notify and whatnot, that happens from when you actually connected Owner to the CCS department and onwards. But you can run the actual entitlement report here, right? And see prior weeks, okay? But you have to do it per child, or children or whatever and compare. So you can, yes, access old ones, but it's a little bit more manual if you want to look at the entitlements. But you can access a lot of old stuff, yes. Cool. So when you come to the sessions, right, the most crucial part is just making sure all your sessions are correct. And we have a little warning mechanism at the bottom of the session reports just to sort of help you guys out. And this will pick up anything that's missing. So if there's a sign-in time or a sign-out time or anything like that that's missing, you can just use this report here to firstly identify it and secondly fix it as well. Just click this little edit button. So this child wasn't signed out. So I just click this little clock button here. I think if you just click anywhere here, yeah, it brings up the clock. And just remember to use 24-hour time. So they signed in at 6 and they left at 4 p.m. that day. So I just put in the sign out time. It's 4:62. And then I update it and you'll see my warnings drop to 4:61. Okay. This child was actually absent, but we forgot to mark them. So I'll mark them absent now. Okay. And it allows you just to keep track of everything. It also picks up no fees. So someone was saying, what if we have makeup days? That's fine. You can still submit with a warning. It's fine. Not a problem. Sometimes you want to submit no fee. It'll just bring it up just for your attention. Okay. And as long as you're happy with all your warnings, you can just submit. All right. That's not a problem. But just keep in mind that different warnings will show different will affect submissions differently, and also that the warnings actually pick up the whole week, right? So it's only Tuesday that number's really high because it's picking up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which haven't happened yet. That's okay as well. Anytime you log into this screen, just make sure you've attended to everything prior and that will all be good. Okay. Yeah, awesome. Cool. I can see my colleagues replied as well to Zinnia on Facebook. Awesome. All right. So what's going to happen from a timeline perspective, just to sort of wrap everything up, guys, is your actually, before we go to the timeline, a few quick notes. If you're doing IS claims under the CCS, you could do the IS here, right? CWAs, as we mentioned before, are done here as well. And the care and vacancy, this is a big one as well. You can automate that as well, okay? So just turn on that toggle to be automatically, so owner automatically updates CCS rather than you guys having to do it week in, week out. Cool. Awesome. Now, when it comes from a timeline, what's going to happen is at the end of the week, and keep in mind, doesn't matter if you're automatically or manually submitting sessions, and CCS is down on weekends all the time, right? As long as we, as a as a center, get the submissions in by Sunday 9 p.m. Okay, if you're on auto and the CCS department's not available, we would just resubmit as soon as they're available, right? As long as we get it in by Sunday 9 p.m., that's fine. They still allow us to, you have up until that time frame to be able to get your payment report the following day, okay, and not miss out on delays of CCS and stuff like that, okay? So whether you're manually doing it or automatically, that's our goal. And as long as we do that, what's going to happen is on Monday, we're going to get our payment report, which shows us how much CCS is coming our way. And then a few days later, you actually get your physical CCS payment in your bank account, okay? Now, a few things to sort of help you with troubleshooting. Now, if you're on auto, you will get notified if sessions have gone in successfully or unsuccessfully, okay? But you can also run this report here, weekly attendance fee report, just to sort of keep track of all your children. Now, go back to the week you submitted for, run that report, and what's going to happen is you're going to see all your children and whether or not they have ticks or crosses, okay? If they have ticks, that means they've all been successfully submitted, okay? Any cross will mean that child specifically was not submitted, and you can click the little arrow here to try and submit them, okay? Any error message will appear here, and if you hover over it, it'll tell you what's missing. Generally, something to do with the enrollment, okay? And then the last thing, Karen, yes, I'll show you the CCS payment remittance in a sec. And then the last thing with this report is that you can also click this little checkbox button here just to see your errors only, okay? Every other child's ticked. Now, this is just a summary to tell you yes or no if they're ticked. If you want to see the ins and outs of what was submitted, you go to the session reports and view the submission, right? So this is step one. Check all your sessions were submitted correctly so that you can then proceed with step two, which is getting your payments report. Okay, so this ties in with Karen's question about remittance, CCS remittance. So you come here to the CCS report and go to payments. Okay, and just before we do that, we did mention a little bit before, this weekly attendance fee report is fantastic for so many reasons. And one of them is it actually shows your total fees, your CCS, and your gap. Okay, when looking at it in the future, it's just an estimate and it doesn't take into consideration any what's those things called? Caps, if you reach caps and stuff like that. However, if you're looking at it in the past, it's all confirmed, okay? Because your attendances are confirmed, your CCS is confirmed. So we'll have this confirmed CCS number here, okay? So keep that in mind. And secondly, if you actually want to get that payment report, you come here to CCS and go to payments. Where it goes? Sorry, I scrolled too far. CCS payments, okay? And this will bring us our payment report. Now, it's important to note the payment report has the different criteria when selecting the dates. You're always selecting for the week that the payment is going to come in, not the week you submitted for. Okay, so I submitted for last week, the 9th, okay, but payment will come in on the 16th. So I'm looking from the 16th, okay, and I always just say go from the 16th to today, okay. You can never go to a future date because no payment has happened, and the report will actually force you to choose today, right? You can't choose a future date. And the reason we always go to the payment week is because when you guys submit your sessions, you're not always submitting just for the last week. You might have submitted for something, 3 weeks ago, you've updated some information or whatever. However, the payment won't be reflected until now. Okay. So we always look at the payment week and then that way it picks up everything. Okay. Now, when you run this report, it allows you to see, your payments. So I'll just bring up a screenshot quickly for you. What's this? That's entitlement changes.
payments. Perfect. So what the report's going to look like is something like this. I chose the week of the 21st. Okay. I did it on a Monday, so I couldn't go any further, right? And it always showed me the previous week's sessions. However, in some cases, you might also have other weeks there as well. That's fine. And the session report date column will show you what reporting week you're submitting for. The clearing will show you the payment week, and the amount will show you how much CCS per child, right? What you want to check on Monday is that you want to make sure that this status here is clear. Okay, so we always highly recommend you run your payment report first thing on a Monday, and as long as that's clear, the account side of things recognizes that and loads all those CCS payments onto the accounts as confirmed figures. Okay, so that's a very important step to do on Monday. And to answer Karen's question, this payment report then also has a total number and a clearing number so that you can, what's that word? Reconcile with the CCS payment that comes into your bank account a few days later. Cool. And that's it. You basically submit your sessions, you review all your sessions have been submitted correctly, you run your payments report, and that loads all your CCS payments onto your accounts, and then you generate your new invoices. Okay, and that sort of completes the cycle from start to finish. Awesome. All right, guys, we've run a bit over time. We're at an hour and 15 minutes, and I highly apologize. 10 of that was me just, having issues with my internet. If you guys want, I'm more than happy to stay for questions. I will review the chat to see if I've missed anything, although I tried my best to answer them as we went, right? But feel free to stay back for a few more minutes if you want to ask some questions. But I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's joined. We had some really good discussion points today. You will have a recording of this on our Facebook community group. It's called Owner Community. Okay, I'm just going to put it in the Zoom chat because people on Facebook already be in the group. Owner Community, and I'll just write Facebook. And all of our old recordings, and not just the CCS ones, but the programming ones and the staff ones and all that, they're all there, okay? And any recording we've ever done through Facebook Live. And we'll also endeavor to get this recording back on YouTube because our old one got removed. Okay. Now, massive thanks to everyone. I hope this has been valuable and you guys have learned something. If you have further questions, please just let me know in the chat box. If you guys are all done and you don't have questions, just also let me know in the chat box if there's no questions, and I'll just sort of wrap it all up. Just want to say massive thank you for everyone that attended. Hope you all have a fantastic week ahead. Keep in mind on Tuesday, we do have our next training, which is on staff, okay? Every Thursday, we alternate the trainings between the staff and like staff/app training, and the alternating training will be on programming. Okay, so that's always there, and we do chuck in certain trainings from time to time, so keep that in mind. Awesome, great guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the comments. If you guys ever have any feedback on these sessions, let us know. I know my one, I've got a lot to cover, CCS and accounts, but I try my best to go through everything to some degree. And yeah, I hope it's been valuable. If there was something like, for example, tagging your families or whatever we didn't cover, reach out to our team. I'll just leave that there actually. Support@owner.com.au. If you're in the onboarding stages, just onboarding@owner.com.au. Right, I'll write it up again. Onboarding@owner.com.au, and we can help you with whatever you guys need. Okay, so any questions, reach out. We have a lot of ways you can get in contact, a lot of tutorials for you guys, a lot of touch points to help you guys out from a support perspective. Okay, so yeah, awesome. It sounds like the questions have died off, which is awesome. Seems like maybe we've answered everything. If we missed something, we just missed it in the chat by accident, send it again to the support team and we'll answer it. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you all have a fantastic week ahead. Hope to see you guys in the next training that my colleagues will do. And again, we do this every single week, so maybe we'll see you again next week. Have a fantastic day, and that's it for me. Bye, everyone.